was a time when the greatest power in the world was an idea. Ideas started revolutions. They toppled empires. They liberated nations. They changed the course of human history. But today, we live in a different world, in a different age, an entirely different time where artificial intelligence can write poems, draft speeches, summarize books, pass examinations, and even imitate the writing styles of history's greatest mind. And then we ask, at that very moment where it appears that machines are growing more intelligent than our public conversations, what becomes of the generation? Because ours now is a world where outrage often travels faster than reason, and where the headlines matter more than the arguments, where virality sometimes matters more than veracity, and where many people read comments, but few people read books. So today we are asking that very difficult question. As artificial intelligence advances, are we building a more intelligent world, or are we simply a more automated people? And if machines learn to write, who will teach humanity how to remain human after the time is gone? On that note, let me welcome you to The Beam, where curiosity tests conversations, taking us a step further into the future we desire. Here we bring you the issues that matter, the voices that challenge, and the insights that inspire. I'm Sunas Nathaniel, and today we're looking at AI, literature, and the death of intellectual polity. Joining me today is Professor Obari Gomba, a poet, playwright, scholar, public intellectual, and one of Nigeria's most respected literary voices. Dr. Gomba, you're welcome to the program.
I'm happy to be here, thank you.
It's a conversation I've been looking to have, a very important conversation, because we need to be able to situate the now into what it should be and where we're going to in the future. So let me begin by saying, at this time, we're living in some kind of a paradox, right? Like I said in the intro, machines are getting smarter, but it seems like our conversations are not going anywhere when it comes to being smart. Nothing seems to be really transforming the life of the individual when you talk of edifying, educating, in the proper sense. What do you think is going on? What are we seeing at this time?
All right, thank you very much. I'm always an optimist. And so the first thing I'm going to say is that even the machines are dependent on humans, and ideas are at the basics of all those innovative developments that are taking place. So it's not as if human beings have surrendered their ideas or their intellect. It is just that we're living in a new era where we're now beginning to process thought and action in different ways. And there's a merit to it. There's also a demerit to it. To understand this, we need to balance the conversation, to understand all the possibilities for good that we can put AI and machine knowledge or machine learning or machine action to, and also understand where it becomes important for us to set necessary boundaries in order to safeguard humanity. Because it will be a great tragedy for humans to create technology and then cede their own existence or knowledge system entirely to those machines. That would be a tragedy. And that's where we should not go to.
Now, staying on that, we see the rise of intelligent machines, right? And then, like I said, we're seeing outrage. We're not seeing real scholarship, you know, a full spectacle of scholarship. And then that's what I think, though. And so the question then becomes, are we then in that era when we are witnessing the real death of, you know, intellectual politics? Is that what we're experiencing at this moment? And how dead are we in that sense?
Well, there are people who are still upholding standards, there are institutions that are upholding standards, and they're running with the ideas that are increasingly progressive and that will shape the present and shape the future. There are also people who have surrendered their capacity to reason, to process action, to other kinds of formations and entities. So we have to also put this understanding in context to be able to properly situate what our challenges with the use of intellect and the application of intelligent action is at this material time. For those who are dead, there are people who are dead, who have surrendered intellect, have surrendered integrity, cultural integrity, academic integrity, even business and governance integrity to machines and all sorts of entities. But there are also people who are still enforcing what is proper, who understand that we have come to an era of immense development, and we cannot wish away the developments that we've put in place, but that these developments must serve the purpose of humanity in a very good and progressive way. And these persons are willing to work towards that. These persons may be in the minority, they may not be loud, but they understand the needs of the moment and they are committed to doing that. Now, our salvation is in these few voices, scattered as they may be, who continue to insist that the right thing must be done. That, okay, fine, AI is wonderful, technology is wonderful, but we must not get to a point where our students cannot write their own essays anymore. Okay? You give students a simple task to turn in an assignment by next week, and everybody is bringing stuff that is processed by, not even processed, generated entirely by AI. Once you create a class of people like that who cannot even think, who cannot write poems, who cannot write stories, who cannot write essays, who cannot even hold conversation, who have no confidence in their own looks. They take pictures and they have to process their faces to appear in a way that they believe that is better. Once we get to that point where humanity surrenders itself completely and outsources its capacity to do some things for itself to the machines or other entities that it has created, we are in a very bad place.
And you think we have not gotten there?
No, we're not there.
What do you think would tilt the scale?
What we tilt is gatekeeping. Oh, it depends. In which direction are we talking about?
In either direction. In either direction.
Well, we need important gatekeeping. Very, very important gatekeeping. And gatekeeping will actually will depend on a number of things to know what the standards are and how to enforce them. Okay? We must define the standards clearly, we must enforce them clearly, and we must know at what point what we consider to be original, genuine human effort in sectors where direct human skill or application of human action is required. We're willing to, we have to know where that has to be and where those skills must meet the capacity of the machines that we are creating.
You know, one of those questions I want to, speak to, I want you to speak to rather before we go into, tying it into the literary and the arts in general is, in whose interest is intelligent politics? In whose interest is intellectual polity? Who does it serve best? Are we a nation that are prepared for it? In fact, is the world really ready for such conversation? Because like you've rightly said, at some point in time, it's not just Nigeria, it's not just Africa, it's about something going around the world, right? So in whose interest is it that we have intellectual politics? In who?
It's an interest of humanity, all of humanity, that we have a system of governance or a system of operation that is based on the integrity of our intelligence, okay? Because the truth is that intelligence can be used for negative things, okay? But we need to exercise intelligence in a way that serves public good. It's in our collective responsibility. It's our collective responsibility to enforce that, and it's in our collective interest to have that done. But you see, if you move around the world, you come to understand that many power holders believe that a much more robust pace of intellectualism will serve the interests of the masses. And they're afraid of exposing the masses to information, exposing the masses to knowledge. There are a lot of control spaces around the world where people create guardrails around information and knowledge because they believe that once people know what they have to know, certain kinds of strangleholds on power will be impossible. But what they forget is that intelligent or intellectual politics is also in the interest of the political class, particularly in Nigeria, because you need people who are intelligent to run government, okay? To take basic decisions, formulate policies, implement policies, deliver the dividends of governance or dividends of democracy, as we call it in Nigeria. So if we have people who are simplistic, who are even idiotic, who do not have the capacity to process thought, to process ideas, who are afraid of intellect, who are afraid of knowledge, who are afraid of people, of expertise, who are afraid of skills, who want us to be at the most basic level where politics is in get morale, in no get morale, in get power, who you be, who you no be. If conversation remains at that level, it doesn't serve the political class too. Because the world is a competitive space, right? You can take all the money in Nigeria and put it in your pocket. It doesn't make you a superman when you go around the world. A country that is not your country is not your country. So our people, our leaders have to understand that it is in our interest to have enough intelligence running our government, enough intellectuals involved in the administration of our government. And part of human intelligence is to understand the limits of our individual intelligence. Okay? So for instance, if I have to build a road and I'm a governor, I'm a poet. I am not an engineer. I shouldn't be afraid to consult an engineer to serve as a technical aid or a technical advisor who can advise me properly in the interaction of the state with a business entity that is going to build that road. But if I'm someone who is afraid of bringing in expertise, bringing in people who have the depth of knowledge to guide governance, to guide policy, to help in the enforcement or implementation of policy, then I have sold myself low as a leader, and I am of disservice to my polity, to the people that I lead. So we must put intelligence, very, very high level of intelligence at the core of governance. And we must pay attention to the people. I mean, this is to the political parties. They must pay attention to the people that they feed for offices. You can't feed people because they are the loudest touts in communities. They are the people who can bully their way into office. If you do that, you have already conditioned governance to be a dysfunctional space for the people. And any country that's governed by its worst elements can never develop.
Any country governed by its worst element can never develop. Now, let's speak to the literature, politics, and the development of nations, because it's the same space. It's all within the same. There's a time. There's a way in which Nigerians and many Africans look at literature and the arts, poetry, fiction. There's a way to look at it. To a great extent, it almost feels like, hey, this thing no matter. It's not necessary. It's not important, right? And then how does this affect the nation if the poet cannot be seen as somebody who should really be reckoned with? How does it really affect the growth and development of the nation?
This problem has been with us for a long time, and it's a shame that it is like that and it continues to be like that. Okay, and it goes to the first issue that you raised about how people celebrate intellect, how they prioritize intellect in the reckoning of their cultural space. As a people, we're not quite there yet. Okay, and the truth is that we do not even treat science any better. Apart from just paying lip service to the importance of science in development, the centrality of science in development, it's not as if we're actually paying really serious attention to that. So if you want to know how progressive a country is, you not just pay attention to how it pays attention to its important sectors of development. The arts and the humanities are very important. There is no advanced society in this world that does not understand the importance of the humanities and the arts. I'm not even talking about the economies of the arts or the economies of the humanities or the economies of talent development and productivity. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just basic investment that shows that people understand the value of such contributions to the health of society. And I'm going to say this because I delivered a lecture at an innovation week in my university. And I was saying something to them that, well, it's easy for us to say, the scientist is an innovator. He can build a television set. It's a very wonderful television set that is going to build for us. And we will celebrate it because it's cutting-edge technology. But what is a television set without your broadcast? What is it without the songs that we play in it, the news that we read in it, the information that will pass through them, the poets that speak on them, the plays, the movies? What is a television set? No matter what the technology that is invested in this, what is it? What is a radio set without it? What is a handset? Whatever the technology that has gone into the creation, if there is no communication, if we're not taking our simple selfies with it and sharing text messages with it, it is the human content that makes science something of value. It is the humanity that the humanities protect and celebrate and create that make human science worthy of attention or worthy of celebration. And this is it. 20 years from now, the best television set that you build this year is going to be obsolete. There's going to be a new technology in place. You want to do away with it. But the song that was played by Fela many years ago will still be alive to be played by successive generation on the television sets 100 years to come. That's the point. That's the enduring power of art.
All right.
The poems will endure. The plays will endure. The novels will endure. They will endure beyond the ephemerality of your scientific creations.
All right, that's a place to take a break. You're watching The Beam. We're Big Questions meets bold conversations, and today we are really looking at something that the future needs to really pay attention to. We'll be right back. Don't go away. All right, welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is The Beam, and we are exploring the future of human thought in the age of artificial intelligence. I have been in conversation with Professor Obari Gomba, and it's been really very expository at this point, and I think there's so much more that needs to be exposed. One of the first questions I would ask here now is, can AI write poetry?
It can generate poetry, it cannot write it. And I'm using these terms loosely, okay? Loosely. There's a difference between creating poetry and generating poetry, okay? The creative writer, the individual is the person who creates poetry. You can give prompts to AI and then get AI to generate the poem through the prompts. But you cannot, in all fairness, lay claim to the artistry that has produced the poem. Okay? So the AI machine cannot be a poet. It is the individual that will be a good or a bad poet. And if the individual does not have confidence in his or her ability and relies on the capacity of the machine to generate a poem, then that individual does not have any business with that cultural space. That individual is a fraud.
That's a very powerful term to use. Now, in having said that, we had the scandal, the Commonwealth scandal. What's your take? I mean, people being accused of writing stories using AI in a way that did not even say, hey, somebody thought about writing this in that sense. That's the way people were perceiving it. What's your take on that?
It's a kind of scandal that should not befall any cultural or intellectual institution. It should not. It should not at all. Because you see, people make a lot of investment, time, intellect, money, even reputation, goodwill. A lot goes into building a cultural platform like the one that you've mentioned. And over the years, and then something happens, and all of a sudden, it seems that the reputation is cracking and crashing because of maybe one act of indiscretion or misrepresentation and all that. It's not a place where any organization should be. And because the truth is that the Commonwealth prizes are very important. Many writers in the world had built their reputation on their success on that platform. And for you to have that kind of scandal befalling an institution like that is something that should worry all of us. There's been a pushback by the Commonwealth Foundation.
Definitely.
And they've made their case, they've made their investigations and stuff like that, and they've made their pronouncement in a way that they believe is sufficient and significant enough to protect their integrity. But the bigger lesson from it is that almost all cultural institutions are now vulnerable now. And they will need to exercise a greater deal of vigilance. If you're a prize administrator in the field of literature, you have to exercise greater gatekeeping, greater vigilance, because that is a signal that things can go wrong, that an individual can pass a machine-generated piece and you can award a prize to it, and then maybe tomorrow it's discovered, and it becomes a thing of embarrassment to you. It's like people, athletes will win medals or trophies under the influence of drugs, performance-enhancing drugs. And after all the euphoria and celebration and national honor and national pride and all that, a certain test is done, and all of a sudden, national acclaim and national pride and everything begins to crash down. So the failure at this point, or the shame or the embarrassment, is not that of the individual alone. It becomes institutional, it becomes national. There are a whole lot of entities that are involved in the protection of our cultural space. So every group that is awarding a prize now, a literary prize now, has to invest in the processes that will enable them check. There's also technology for all these checks.
But again, the question then becomes, when technology checks technology, what is that about?
But the truth is that you can't leave it to the subjectivity of human taste. If it's a piece that is generated by a machine, for you to have a measure of precision in determining that, you also need the help of technology, the kind of technology that can make that pronouncement. Okay? So that you can say categorically that you've done due process, and by that due process, you've arrived at the point that that work is undeserving of the prize that you get. So that's a lesson that we all have to learn as prize administrators.
What becomes of a nation where, influencers are more respected than scholars, and can a democracy survive without its citizens reading deeply and starting meaningful conversations?
No, it cannot. It cannot. And I'm not assuming that in a country of 1 million persons, every person will be literate and every person will be reading. You don't have that kind of statistics anywhere. 100% readership, 100% literacy in any country. You don't have that. You do not have every person in the country. You can't have situations where every person in the country has a capacity to hold meaningful dialogue, okay, and take meaningful action. You can't have that because people have different competencies and abilities in the social spaces that they belong to. And so it becomes the responsibility of those who have the ability to read, to think, to speak, to push their nation in the direction that everyone can be proud of. And by that I'm saying that if we have to bring this conversation home, it is the responsibility of every educated Nigerian to put his education to good use. Every educated Nigerian owes Nigeria the responsibility to run a system that we all can be proud of. And this is what is going to shock you. I think there was a keynote speaker in an event in East Africa, and he said, the worst thieves in our politics are people who are educated. The worst thieves. When you hear that there is missing funds in government, and these funds are in billions and billions and billions, the people, if you check, those who are involved in the process, who sign the papers, who run the documents and all that, are educated people. So to what use have they put their education? How helpful is it? How helpful are they to us? How helpful is the education to the polity? So if you have a people who have more of the education of the head, but not the education of the mind, who have a lot of head knowledge, and Nigeria has a lot of knowledgeable people. We have many, 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 many knowledgeable people. I mean, Nigeria has many, many smart people. But Nigerians do not have enough education of the mind, because it is the education of the mind that makes you understand that you can take this 10 billion, but you're going to kill your country in the process. You can buy the biggest Jeep, but you're going to drive on unsafe roads. You can buy the biggest Jeep, but if you have health emergency, you will not have any health facility in your own country that has the capacity to take care of your health needs. It takes the education of the mind to make a people rise above primitive acquisition, primitive accumulation. If you have the education of the head alone, all you think about is what you can grab. You think about your own personal interests. You think about how to make your children better than every other person's child. Push them to Europe, push them to America, steal the kind of money that they cannot spend in 1,000 lifetimes and all that. You have all that. But those children belong to a place. And if that place is dysfunctional, the truth is that nobody is safe in a dysfunctional space, not even the architects of dysfunction. So we must come to a point where Nigerians will understand that we have many educated people, and the education that we have must be that can be transformational and put our country on the best basis of development.
All right. All right. Finally, just in one sentence, if I ask you, complete this sentence for me, the future belongs to?
Well, it belongs to now, the people that are in Nigeria to the present, and it belongs to the future.
All right. Thank you very much, Professor Obari Gomba, for coming on the program. It was a pleasure having you, and thank you for your insights and candor.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
All right, that's the much we can take on the beam today. I am Soonest Nathaniel, and as always, I keep urging you, stay curious, stay engaged, stay informed, and keep beaming your lives where it matters the most. May this great nation continue to rise and flourish. Bye for now.